What's up, AfterBuzzers? We got a monster mash on our hands as the monster Matanza Cueto defends the Lucha Underground title against the man of 1,000 deaths, Mil Muertes. So stick around and join us as we go to Slamtown, because you're not going to want to miss it.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Oh, man. That was
not what I expected.
That was realer than I was expecting.
That was not what I expected.
That's right, baby. We're going to Slamtown right here on the Lucha Underground After Show on AfterBuzz TV. My name is Ty Matthews. You can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, at Ty Matthews PMA. And speaking of PMA, we've got a very, very special guest. He's involved in the wrestling world, in the video game world, in the voiceover world. He's got his hand in so many pies, you wouldn't even know what to do with it. My man, OG Kevin Gill, joining us in studio.
To quote The Rock, I like pie.
Nice.
Who doesn't?
Nice.
Yes,
Who
it's
doesn't?
an honor to be here, man. Thank you guys so much for having me here at AfterBuzz TV, man. I am geeked, I am thrilled, and I am full of PMA and wrestling enthusiasm right now.
Oh, we've got a big episode to talk about, but of course, as always, my lovely and talented regular co-host,
thank you,
Mr. Jimbo Slice himself,
Yes.
James
How you
Franck.
doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Great. You can follow me on Twitter at @TheJimboSlice. That's TheJimboslice. That's at TheJimboSlice with 2 E's, at TheJimboSlice. And I was going to say, he's a jack of all trades and a master of PMA.
Exactly,
You know?
Really?
And allow me not to digress and leave out my own Twitter plugs at OG Kevin
Of
Gill,
course.
at Kevin Gill Show, and go to KevinGillShow.com while you're at it. 89 episodes and counting.
Oh, yeah.
No big deal. You know,
Teddy Hart broke the internet.
Oh, we'll get to that because it's in my notes to bring up.
Oh, Teddy Hart's my favorite.
He's got a lot of great Lucha Underground. Matt Stryker, Vampiro, Willie Mack.
Of course.
The list goes on.
The
and
Machine,
on.
Brian Cage.
The Machine.
Definitely.
Allegedly, M-Dog Matt Cross, who may or may not have something to do.
See, now I was going to ask about that. That's a perfect segue. I was going to ask about your involvement with the Backyard Wrestling video games.
Sure.
Because they're some of my favorite games.
Hell yeah.
You know, the M-Dog 20 was in the first one, Vampiro in the second one. Tell us a little bit about working on those games and working with those guys as we see them on Lucha Underground now. One allegedly.
Allegedly. It was just a dream come true, man. You know, it really came out of the spirit of ECW. You know, ECW was such a trailblazing thing in wrestling, and it opened so many doors creatively. But then as around the time that ECW went away, WCW also went away, and suddenly you went from, you know, the amount of people that used to watch wrestling a week to how many it was cut to, how many used to buy the combined video game sales of all the different companies. Now there's just one. So I saw an opportunity in the marketplace, which was, so there's only WWE games now, and they only are going to be T-rated or whatever. I see an opening, you know. And one night I was at a party and I saw the commercial for the Backyard Wrestling VHS at that time that was on late night TV, and I'm like, you know, the wheels just started turning. And when I was at Rockstar, I had put together a deal to do the ECW video game, which is a little known fact because then we opted out of the deal and let Acclaim take it.
Interesting, okay.
So then I just kind of was still so geeked on wrestling. I was like, man, so I took a job in San Francisco at IDOS, and within a few weeks of starting, I had a game greenlit. So that was how it went down. But to know those guys from then, like I know all those guys from back in the day, allegedly, and they were all great to deal with then, and to watch their careers and to develop friendships with a lot of the people I've worked with is a really cool thing, and it's what's opened a lot of the doors I get to walk through now for my career or work or whatever. You know.
I was gonna ask. So, is it crazy to see someone like M-Dog go from being the guy in like Adidas track pants, doing cool stuff in the backyard,
doing the flag post
like
off the
to like how far he's come?
I thought it would happen much sooner, though. You know what I mean? I didn't think it would take
Like when he was on Tough Enough.
Even before that, like M-Dog was just so good that I'm like, once he gets all this exposure, he's on all these talk shows, he's on like whatever, Jenny Jones, and then he's on the cover of 2 best-selling video games, and then he's touring Japan. I'm like, this guy's well on his way, but he's one of those guys that's almost more in demand internationally for a long time than he was here in the States, you know? So I think it's great for Lucha Underground to give him his due. But to me, I pictured even like more lately, like when Rey Mysterio was at the end of his WWE run, which was kind of for a long time, he was in that phase. Who better than to put M-Dog under the hood to be Rey's little homie, you know what I mean? Eventually enemy, or maybe someone to wave the flag of Lucha afterwards. But Lucha Underground has that eye for talent, man, and they saw something that I guess WWE didn't, but I know they saw stuff in him because they were always interested in him. So
Right.
it's a weird paradox. But he is a world-class person, a world-class athlete, and he's someone like, you know, Punk Rock Fury, PMA, all that. He just kept moving forward. It never mattered whether the big companies were looking at him or not, because there'd be 30 smaller companies. Him and El Generico, who some speculate has something to do with Sami Zayn's training. They were like road partners. They would, when they talk about all the countries that Sami Zayn went to, almost every one of those countries he went to with M-Dog Matt Cross. They were married, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Sure.
In wrestling terms.
I love it.
So sorry for that super long answer.
No,
But
not at all.
I love M-Dog Matt Cross. So
Absolutely.
any chance I can.
Let's get
I
into
want to
it.
get into the episode, but we got to get back to backyard wrestling at some point towards the end because I have more questions.
Do you have more about backyard wrestling?
I was like,
We'll
Kevin
circle
Gill's
around.
coming in. We're definitely talking about
Circle
backyard wrestling.
around. We got a lot to talk about. Let's talk about season 2, episode 13, Monster versus Monster, because we got such a main event on our hands. But before that, let me talk to you all about DraftKings.
Sure.
Whether you're golf's biggest fan, or you're just ready to try a new fantasy sport, you can play 1 week fantasy golf for free every week at DraftKings.com. You just pick 6 golfers before a tournament tees off, you stay under the salary cap, you rack up points for streaks, per hole performance, tournament finishes, and more, outscore the competition, and you could win. Only DraftKings brings the excitement of golf to this level, with every monster drive and every made putt bringing you closer to victory. And DraftKings offers more than fantasy golf. You can choose from a variety of sports to showcase your winning skills, like baseball, soccer, even mixed martial arts. Millions of sports fans just like you have already discovered DraftKings. Now it's your turn to get in on the action for free. So here's what y'all got to do. Fantasy golf contests begin when tournaments tee off, so hurry over to DraftKings.com right now to choose your golfers, and be sure to use the promo code BUZZ to play for free. That's BUZZ, B-U-Z-Z, to play for free. This isn't fantasy as usual. This is DraftKings.
Bam!
Boom.
Now let's get into some Lucha Underground.
Oh man!
So,
We start with this video,
are we talking about the recap?
like the.
I love like the previously on
Yes.
segments. Like it's as serialized as a wrestling show can get. So you got to kind of recap these insane stories. But we start, of course, with the proprietor of Lucha Underground, our favorite, Dario Cueto. And he's there it is. There it is. It's magical, really. He's in his office with Phoenix, Drago, and Aerostar, and talks about how, you know, they were in the Trios tournament last year, didn't quite get the good job done. Of course, now they're much more on the same page, but how interesting would that be? That's not Dario Cueto's style.
No.
So you know what? He's going to break them all up. He's going to not only put Phoenix on a trio with Jack Evans and the Darewolf PJ Black, but he's going to pit Drago and Aerostar against each other for the second of the 7 Aztec medallions.
This is excellent.
Amazing.
I loved how he's like, Phoenix, you're lucky you survived, but
My brother.
you are the man of 1,000,000 lives, or 1,000 lives, and I am the man of opportunity.
1,000 opportunities. Unique opportunities.
I loved it.
I don't understand, how is it that there's like a handful of people in the world who seem to watch these same vignettes that we watch with awe and wonder, but they watch it with this is the worst thing for wrestling.
Oh, man. And
How is telling a story bad?
And
How
this episode gets bonkers. And we will get to that.
Oh man.
We get the crazier the show gets, the more excited we get. So, whew,
Oh man, it was intense.
yeah. But yeah, it's anything with Dario Cueto posing his unique opportunities is fantastic. I know, Jimbo, you're very psyched about the
These
medallions being
man.
distributed.
Oh, I
What
love
did you
it.
think of this?
I thought it was great, and I love how he was like, and this match, it starts next. You know,
Next,
it's like,
yes.
oh man. I love because it's just gonna build, and then once all those medallions are collected, you know that match is gonna be insane.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
We already, Tejano
insane.
has the first of the medallions, so we already know one of the participants.
Yes.
And then kicking things right off the bat, we've got Aerostar and Drago.
Yeah.
Kevin, what did you think of this match? Because this match, what was interesting is that it was so straight. It was as kind of much of a pure Technico versus Technico match as we've seen.
Sure. Well, I love both characters. I think both characters and both wrestlers, so to speak, both luchadors are just mind-blowingly amazing. I love Drago, just his persona, just like I believe that he is a lizard, you know what I mean?
Right,
A
exactly.
dragon, you know what I mean? Just that it just comes through. So yeah, I thought those guys destroyed it, man. Just hard hitting, high flying, go go go. I believe there was one like kind of missed moment in the match,
Sure.
but that's wrestling, and that's the art of what the guys do and what the commentators do, and the whole thing moves forward. But I just thought they had an absolutely outstanding match. It was, and I loved what was on the line. I loved the tease tension and all of it. It was just really really cool, man.
I love Drago's entrance gear.
Oh
it
my
was
God.
like Donnie,
Oh, man.
very like Donnie Darko-esque
Oh, it
type
is
head.
kinda.
I was like, oh, it's like the rabbit, but it's a dragon instead.
Sure.
I was like, oh, that's cool. And like that mess up was, I believe, Aerostar does this
Going for
crazy
that
like
springboard.
cannonball thing where he just jumps backwards, and like the rope was just too slick, and
Right.
he just slipped and he fell.
Just
hard.
wrecked.
And
Yeah,
it looked like
damn.
he nailed his knee on like the edge of the steps too,
Right.
and
Oof.
it looked like that was just hurting him the rest of the match.
Sure.
And I love how Vamp and Matt Striker don't just gloss over that. They're just
Exactly,
like, oh,
right.
people have been sweating in that ring all day. Those ropes are slick, and this is high risk.
And-
that's what happens.
And it's true, you know what I mean? It's like, well, think of just look when I just watched Lucha Underground, especially this match. There was one sequence I even wrote it down, and of course now I don't have it accessible. But those guys just had a really really hot exchange in that match of just it was Aerostar hit this insane dive, then Drago threw him out of the ring with such violence, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And then immediately followed it with a sick dive. It's just stuff you can't even believe is possible, and just the stakes just keep rising. It's like reverse don't tip the waiter, you know what I mean? It's like super pop the crowd, you know what
I
I'm
like
saying?
it. I like it, exactly.
It's just, you're like, what?
Right. And it's only in the temple can you get a time traveling luchador versus a luchador that can turn into a dragon.
Yeah.
Right.
But they're facing off in just a pure wrestling contest, and they're still best friends afterwards.
They're buds. I love it.
When they finally breached the time travel barrier, that's
Sure,
when I
that's
was
when you knew.
100% on board. All right,
All bets were off.
I'm in. If this guy is traveling eons just to wrestle on the Rey Network, I'm down. I'm down for it. Let's see. Yeah, so we've got Aerostar hits a big springboard codebreaker into a springboard splash for the clean victory to take the second of the 7
And he doesn't
medallions.
spring off the top rope. He springs off the middle rope.
He loves that middle rope.
So weird.
He loves
Perhaps
that
that has
second rope.
extra
weird.
spring.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you guys as surprised as I was that Aerostar won? To me, I'm a Drago
Yeah,
guy. I was
yeah.
like Drago all the way in
Yeah,
this.
for sure.
I am a Drago guy, but I think that's why I could see them giving it to Aerostar.
Because they're still not set up with him and Jack.
Yeah, I think the medallions are sort of, it's kind of like a mid-card sort of idea for them. So I think they've got kind of more things in plan for Drago. I mean, like,
Sure.
we've got to see Drago versus Matanza at some
Oh,
point.
man.
You know,
Drago versus everybody.
everybody.
You know what else is cool?
Mm.
Like you'll see Aerostar whip Drago on the ropes, and he follows him in, and he hits a 619.
Oh,
I was like,
right.
that's cool because
That was
I've
such
seen
an
people.
interesting
I've seen
yeah.
people like Ricochet. He'll do the follow in, but then he'll run out and he'll catch the cutter.
Sure.
Like so to see him run and hit that 619
And hit the
then that
619
sent him
to the
up
back.
to the outside to do his springboard double knees. I was like, oh, that was great.
Yeah.
Loved it.
And Drago hit that DDT off the ropes, which was
Oh my God.
absolutely like, what is this, man?
Yeah, that Hangman's DDT off of the top rope, draped over the top, adding even more torque to it. Just nasty.
Just
it's
nasty.
amazing.
Whereas Mark would say, gross.
That's pretty gross. There's another gross part in the trios match too. Like,
Right? Oh man. But let's get into Johnny Mundo and Taya backstage. And I
is
love
great.
okay, what do you call that little wooden tree thing? that
I just
Johnny
always
Mundo's-
think of like Jackie Chan or like Bruce Lee practice.
right,
you know, just
exactly.
da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
And I love that he's into it, and he's so into himself.
But he's so into it that he can almost move like the Flash when he's
Exactly.
in the zone of his physicality is so strong, as described last week on the Kevin Gill show, where he was in for like an hour, wilding out. But the point is, he's able to tune in. It's not just the abs; it's some sort of mental thing combined with possibly time traveling or space-related skills.
Who knows?
That just
Yeah.
make all this happen. Man.
Right.
But you know what I'm talking about? Flash type movements. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I love the interactions between him and Taya, just like in general, but in this segment specifically. She says, "How is it possible?" He says, "What possible? That you look even better than you did last week." It's such a convoluted setup to just say, "Oh, you look hot right now." But we find out, guys, if you didn't see the segment, go and watch it because there's so many good lines. We find out that Johnny Mundo, he didn't get a chance to compete for one of the medallions last year, so he would love to just be given one. I mean, really,
Why not?
Who wouldn't?
He deserves it, quite honestly.
But Dario Cueto, being a man of 1,000 opportunities, gives him the opportunity to earn one against the Machine, Cage, but not just any match against Cage. He's gonna get Cage in a cage.
That blew my mind. I had to pause the TiVo right there. And I was like, Cage in a cage? This is so genius. Like, why hasn't this been done?
So we've got Johnny Mundo versus Cage in a cage. Not only that, but we get a return to Johnny Mundo's favorite line. I'm going to take him back to Slamtown. And Slamtown is becoming such my favorite fictional wrestling place.
I love it.
Like, even more so than Parts Unknown. I just want to see Slamtown to see how gloriously 80s it would be.
Oh, man.
Just everyone in, like, Gold's Gym tanks, but, like, barely there straps.
Zubaz pants,
Pants.
fanny packs. Everybody too sweet to each
There's
other.
got, like-
Super feathered hair.
There's just a big sign that says, like, no cinder blocks.
Exactly.
The only thing that this promo was missing was curls.
That's,
they didn't do any curls.
It wasn't in the men's room, and there weren't any curls.
Right.
Those are the only two Lucha
I was
Underground
just waiting
tropes.
for the end of it for him to just grab Taya and just curl her.
Just
and put her back down.
Exactly. So yeah, Kevin, you mentioned talking to the man himself, and I'm interested because this is I think the best work that he's been doing in Lucha Underground. Why do you think that is?
I think because they're connected with who John Morrison or John Hennigan is with the volume turned up. You know what I mean? Look at how he looks. Look at how he can work and wrestle and move. And then look at how the guy has so much desire. It's not just being a lifelong wrestling fan. It's then doing acting classes and improv classes for years, doing literally everything he can to sharpen his skills. And then you're in this creative nexus of, no pun intended, of Lucha Underground, where it's not about glass ceilings or politics. It's about, you know what? You would be awesome at this, and it's working, so let's keep going, you know? So I think it's the perfect storm of talented people in an organization that doesn't punish people for being talented.
Exactly.
That's a great point.
Yeah, everyone has so much freedom and so much room to work with these characters, and just I really feel like he's hitting such a stride as this ridiculous, over-the-top, like 80s villain, basically.
Yeah, he's so great.
And continuity, you know, everything stays together. So wherever his story's going, it's going to get there throughout the season. You know, it's not going to change midway through, and then you're like, it doesn't penalize the people who pay attention. It rewards those people, because here we are discussing the Slamtown
Exactly.
and et cetera. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I personally popped when I don't know if it was actually in the show itself or in a recap package, but Cage did his line, "I'm not a man," and then John Morrison's or Johnny Mundo's like, "Yo, who's she?" Like, we know.
I love
that.
they're getting to the point of everyone subverting that.
Yeah.
Because Dario Cueto did the same
he
thing
did it
last week.
Yeah, we know you're a machine.
And Cage's reaction is just like,
Yeah.
And then
Damn right. Look at me.
So good. Oh, such
It'll be
good
awesome
stuff.
if like he starts to like glitch out. Like, no, I gotta say my line.
I have to say it.
Right.
You gotta let me finish it. Let's get into some trios action. We saw earlier Dario Cueto made the unlikely trio. He loves making these unlikely trios.
Sure.
The way he did with Ivelisse, Son of Havoc, and Angelico. He wants to capture lightning in a bottle again. So he's put Phoenix, the Darewolf PJ Black, and Jack Evans on the same trio, and they are taking on the Disciples of Death in the first round of the trios tournament. What did you guys think of this match?
I thought that the Disciples of Death definitely like looked like they had been brought back to life.
Right,
They
right,
looked
right.
like they were like their mannerisms were
They're
very
kind of on like
dead,
their third or fourth chance at this point.
Like
Yeah.
very creature-esque. I was like, oh, this is different. Like,
Right.
This is cool. It was a really good match. I love heel Jack Evans.
Jack Evans
just
has
not
gotta be
shutting up. Like if they mic'd him,
Oh man,
it'd be so great.
Right.
I love that some of his heel stuff. You don't even understand. Even like an educated fan like us or whatever, we don't even understand it because when he's kind of healing on his own partner and not tagging and stuff, it's like that loose cannon-esque thing, like that no one's in on what he's doing. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And whether that's real or imagined, the spirit of it comes through, and it's that just feeling of unpredictability.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's a great point because it's gotten to a point where he's almost cutting entire promos without the microphone.
Yeah, he's just cutting the middle during the match. He's like, no, I don't want to tag. You're doing great.
You're doing good. Keep doing that.
Keep doing that.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, we saw so much good stuff from Jack Evans, but what I love is that it's such a well-rounded character that not only is he doing such good comedy in the former half of the match, but in the latter half of the match, he finally tags in and just starts. Normally you would see it kind of subverted, like, okay, I got this now, and then he just immediately gets wrecked.
Yeah.
But then he gets to really
He
show
got that
off his
hot
stuff.
tag and just started throwing gnarly kicks.
And that was a hot
everywhere.
tag,
Oh,
yeah.
Man. I loved at one point he was on the outside and he did like a springboard and like changed his mind and just went back to the apron. Like it was so easy to just like hop on the top rope and then no, I'm just gonna go back to the apron.
Right.
It's like, what? Like
Yeah.
how did you not fall? How did you not like stumble or anything? You just no.
Yep.
It's like no. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, no, the kicks that we saw and just like the backflips and everything, just it's so impressive.
One of the Disciples of Death hit a disgustingly gross like cradle DDT, where it's just that huge implant for the pin. Couldn't stand it. I absolutely hated it. Thought my head was gonna fall off just by watching it.
Yeah, you lost an inch of height and fractured one vertebrae just watching.
Just
it.
watching it, exactly, yeah. And what's weird is I think that move started just as it was just a regular DDT, but the way Phoenix planted himself,
Whoops!
whoever, I think it was Tracy, had no choice but to hook the leg as if it were a fisherman suplex or fisherman buster.
Might as well.
I mean, really. We see so much from this. We see Phoenix actually starting to work together with his teammates, kind of like almost really against his will, kind of. It's just sort of instinct, you know? We see a big old springboard 450 for Phoenix, Jack Evans, and PJ Black to advance in the tournament, and the Disciples of Death to fail Catrina and Mil Muertes yet again.
And I would imagine, you guys know a lot about Lucha Underground. I know a little bit. Those aren't two people or two entities that you want to disappoint, that you want any heat with. You might want heat with the office or the IRS before you have heat with either of those two entities.
Right.
Seriously.
Yeah, we've seen that Catrina has the power to kind of bring them back to life. Who knows what kind of power she has in the other direction?
Oh,
Yeah, if she brought him into this world, she could take him out.
Exactly,
That's
exactly.
my
My mom
philosophy.
and dad used to always say that to me.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Slice.
I like it.
I love at one point Phoenix has someone in the corner and he looks like he's gonna hit like the Chris Sabin hesitation drop kick.
Oh, right.
And he does this gnarly baseball slide that just looked like he wrecked this guy.
Yeah.
And I was just like, he like mixed the hesitation drop kick and like the baseball slide drop kick together and just like murdered this
Yeah,
dude's
exactly.
face.
And not only that, we saw we did see one awesome moment of comedy where Jack Evans tags in. He says, "No, I got this," and then just gets triple kicked into the
Yes.
corner and hits it so hard, just yanked back into the corner. Gotta kind of, and then when he gets crotched against the ring post, he's like, "All right, I changed my mind. I want out of this."
He's so good.
Some very good stuff. Very good stuff. Speaking of trios, we've got Dario Cueto. We're back in his office as the proprietor. He's in there with Angelico, Son of Havoc, and Ivelisse, and tells them that he basically clarifies this trios tournament. It's not to determine the number one contender. It's to determine the trios champions. So it's a little bit of a good news, bad news. Bad news, they're in the tournament and they didn't know it. But good news, they've got to buy to the finals. And so we find out next week is a stacked card because not only do we have Johnny Mundo versus Cage
in a cage.
In a cage. I hope they bill it as Cage in a cage. I mean,
hope
really.
there's shirts and posters and Pro Wrestling Tees has a cage in a cage. If you're listening right now, please somebody
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tag me in it.
Let's make this happen, guys. Hashtag Cage in a Cage.
Cage in a
Get it
cage.
trending. Not only do we have that, but we've got a 4-way trios tag match four-way trios elimination match for the titles.
That's insane.
We've got Joey Ryan, Mr. Cisco, and Cortez Castro taking on Angelico, Ivelisse, and Son of Havoc, taking on Phoenix, PJ Black, and Jack Evans, taking on Rey Mysterio, Prince Puma, and Dragon Azteca Jr.
Wow.
That's insane.
So many people, you're going to have to put them in a cage.
That is a lot of people.
There's going to have to be a cage on top of the cage that the cage is inside of.
It'll be like Ready to Rumble.
The Triple H.
Oh, God.
I'll rule you. Do not even get me started on Ready to Rumble. I will quote that all goddamn show long.
The last time I saw a cage that bad, they electrocuted Abdullah the Butcher in the center of it.
Yes. Chamber of Horrors, y'all.
Yeah, not the type of horrors people thought. You
So
think
good.
Abdullah in a cage? No,
What if
different.
Lash LaRue shows up and then it's a cage
Dude.
in a cage in a cage?
I am always down for Lash LaRue. Lash.
What's going on?
Is that a
Seems
I like
forces
that.
beyond our comprehension are also down with Lash LaRue.
Exactly. Mon ami. So, what do you guys think of this match being made, of the unlikely trio being put in this
I
tournament?
didn't know that they would like build the trios tournament to just doing like a four-ways trio match for
Right.
the title.
Wow.
Especially like next week. Like I was like,
It's
wait,
not-
that's the end of the
Yeah,
tournament.
it's not just a normal like, oh, here's some brackets. These guys moved on. Now they're facing these guys.
yeah. It's like no, we're gonna
The finals.
change it up.
Yeah, we got the finals next week out of nowhere.
I don't know, man. It's so stacked. It's hard. It's like the equivalent of when I go to Cheesecake Factory. I have no idea what to say or think about anything that involves that many options.
It's an embarrassment of riches.
It's just I'm full mind blown. You know what I mean? I know it will be awesome, but it's hard to really fully fathom the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna be intense.
Speaking of hard to fathom, let's get into my favorite part of this episode. We've got Catrina backstage,
Oh, man.
and of course, she is not happy with the Disciples
She
of
is
Death.
not happy,
You
but
see?
she is hot.
Yeah.
She changed the lighting
Well, she made it warm in here.
from wherever she is, right? It's how it goes.
And did you guys notice? And you probably noticed this before, but just that sound that accompanies her arrival and departure. Just a quick like. Phew.
Yes, absolutely.
It's pretty sweet.
She just
Like her Bray Wyatt.
exactly. That's exactly right. More people need sound cues, is what we're
Yes.
saying. She just teleports everywhere. She may or may not be a ghost from the
Allegedly.
19th century.
Allegedly. You had to use that a lot on your last podcast.
I had to, man. We all got to protect ourselves so the whole industry can move forward.
Exactly. But let's talk about this. She's got the Disciples of Death in the locker room and basically tells them, give me one good reason why I shouldn't destroy you right now. And what happened next is not what I was expecting. Now I may be wrong, I believe it was Barrio Negro. He reaches in and rips Tracy's heart out of his chest. His black, still beating heart just rips it straight out of his chest. And like, as you're waiting for that to settle in, Catrina says, was that it? No, that wasn't it.
I got two hands.
Because then he rips out Sinestra de la Muerte's heart as well. And so now we're down to one Disciple of Death. Barrio Negro assumedly absorbed their powers. Who knows? But what?
His eyes were glowing something fierce.
Dude, his eyes were glowing and then his hands turned black.
Exactly. So yeah, that's my question to you. What? That's my question. What?
It was great.
What did you guys think? What were your thoughts on this? Tell me what your exact reaction was when he ripped his partner's goddamn heart out of his chest.
I loved because I was watching it with the subtitles on and it was like heart beating.
Right?
It's like, oh, okay. That's great.
People don't think about the localization industry.
But I loved it, like, at the end of it when he's just, like, holding both the hearts and you see, like, his hands turn black and then his eyes glow. I'm like, okay, if next time he shows up, he better have, like, gnarly looking, like, wrist gauntlets or, like, some kind of, and, like, a different kind of mask to, like, where it shows, like, oh, damn, maybe he's getting to that Mill level.
Yeah, no,
like,
he's
maybe,
got to
like,
level up.
That's how Mill got to be,
Where he
like, the
is.
man of a
My
thousand
man,
deaths.
my
because he's just-
man's got to level up.
Oh, man, definitely.
Right. Kevin, what'd you think?
I love being surprised by wrestling and not surprised in a this makes no sense
Right.
and it happened, so
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be surprised. No, I mean like, holy S or whatever. I don't want to use the wrong lingo here, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Oh, holy shit! You know what I
Right,
mean? Like,
right.
It was like a Mortal Kombat video game meets some Indiana Jones type shit, and I'm just like, what the fuck?
That was some Molaram.
You know what I mean?
Man. Yeah.
And I love that it's just going beyond where a wrestling show can go And I love that when I watch the show with people who are, they think wrestling is okay, or they'll watch some wrestling, they come alive for those parts are the best parts of the show. They love the matches too, but those vignettes, those things are what they're all on the edge of their seat, and myself too, to see what that fuck is gonna happen, man.
And because everyone is used to wrestling being ridiculous. No one's used to wrestling being this ridiculous.
Unless you watch WSX, but then it's like the other side of corny.
Exactly.
Because it's like, did that dude really just shoot freaking thunderbolts out of his hands?
WSX.
But if you had been like, this guy's a Raiden type character,
Sure.
He shoots thunderbolts out of his hands, you're like, oh, that makes sense.
And the other key thing too is that Wrestling Society X 30 minutes, too short, 22 minutes after commercials.
Right.
Lucha Underground 60 minutes, the perfect television show.
Right, exactly. And WSX didn't have B-Boy getting his head eaten by a cage monster. That also is a thing that happened on the show.
Poor B-Boy. If he would have lost the Piranha match, maybe.
B-Boy. What's that?
I said if he would have lost the Piranha
match. I forgot about that.
Well, I mean, what about the murder of Conan, man? Conan, one of the most legendary figures in pro wrestling.
He just straight up died. They locked him in a casket, and now he's dead. K-Dog is dead, guys.
That's fucked up. Well, I at least got an upcoming podcast with him before he was killed.
Throw it out for K-Dog.
Pour it out, throw
it out and throw your shoes in the corner.
Oh, man. But let's get into this main event, y'all. This episode is called Monster vs. Monster for a reason.
Yes.
Because we've got the monster, Matanza Cueto, defending the Lucha Underground Championship against the Man of 1,000 Deaths, Mil Muertes. And of course, they've got their respective cornermen. Matanza is accompanied by his brother Dario. Mil is accompanied by Catrina, the Ghost Lady. I mean, so much is happening. What did you guys think of this big-ass monster fight?
Well, shoot.
Mil hates cameras.
Hates them.
He punched at least 2 or 3 cameras just walking to the ring.
Wow.
And I was just like, man, this guy just hates cameras.
You know?
And then I loved how, like, Vamp, because, like, they're both coming out and they got their corner and she's holding the stone and Dario's got the key. And Vamp's like, what's up with this key?
Right.
Have you guys noticed this key? And he finally starts to mention it. And this goes back to something we were talking about, like, the commentators are not fully aware of what's going on.
They're not aware.
At all.
Right.
Unlike regular wrestling.
Yeah.
The vignettes are just a separate outside, kind of like on Lost or something. You know?
Sure.
The characters within them, they're not broadcast on television, so to speak. You know?
That's what's great.
Yeah, and it's almost like what happens in the temple and what happens outside of the temple are kind of 2 different shows that are sort of tangentially related, but like nobody has the complete story until it's fully aired. You know, Matt Striker,
until all the threads come together.
Exactly.
Right?
Matt Striker and Vampiro are only privy to what they see happening in front of them as they commentate. You know, they don't know about Barrio Negro ripping his friggin' partner's hearts out of their chests.
They might have seen the red little bubbling piece of lava on the floor in the locker room and been like, what part of the game is this?
That's weird.
I don't think they suspected it was the 2 guys who owed the money from Denny's, the night before, were now just little bubbles on the floor.
Oh, man. And going back to that vignette, what a way to take someone from the bottom of the card to the top. Like, now I am a million times more invested in seeing what happens with Barrio Negro than I was 6 hours ago.
Totally. I didn't even think about that.
You know?
Yeah. Like, he could battle for the Lucha Underground title next week, and we'd be like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
and that's amazing, too, because think about that. It was just, 1 or 2 episodes ago that Lucha Underground debuted Matanza, or Matanza Cueto, and that was his debut, and he's, like, the most over-established character, and they did in one night what seemingly modern companies have trouble doing in weeks and months and years.
Exactly.
And now, like you said, they did that 2 weeks ago, and now they have a new character all teed up and like on the jump off again. That's
and it's exactly. And it's one of those things. If they announced Matanza versus Barrio Negro next week, not only would I buy it, I'd be super into it.
Oh man!
Like this dude just ripped 2 hearts out of people's chests.
Imagine what kind of vignette we're gonna see before that.
Right.
You know, I'd be like, oh.
Exactly. But yeah, let's talk about this match. I love the way that these 2 work together because they're just 2 big old hosses. Matanza Mil Muertes is so powerful, but Matanza has so much agility. Like he can do
power and agility.
Picture perfect shooting star presses and moonsaults like it's nobody's business.
I love how he just walked in the ring and just like hucked the belt down. Like I don't even care about this.
So
like,
awesome.
Let's fight.
I love it. It's like Tetsuya Naito in New Japan just chucking the belt around. I love when people just care that little. It's great.
Right, the one thing that everyone else cares about, I don't care about.
Yeah.
I'm Matanza Cueto.
Yeah.
This belt is nothing to me.
Right. The hurting people is what I'm here for. This belt is something that weighs down my luggage.
Exactly.
That would be if they flew him on an airplane. I would
Now-
imagine
and now
they have
they
to
can
put
give
him in
like
a crate.
Matanza's
Oh, yeah,
luggage.
he's
yeah.
got to be in like bars.
It's just a bunch of coveralls. Just a bunch.
Just a lion's cage with coveralls covering all the bars.
It's like in
just
Trading
industrial
Places
navy
when they're
blue.
transporting the gorilla.
Exactly. Oh, that's so good. But let's get into, obviously the fight goes outside pretty much immediately, like we knew it would. It goes up to the top of Dario's office. We don't know what's going to happen. Mill is trying to German Matanza off of the office.
I was
and
like-
this is the show where we would kind of believe that
I was
might
legit
happen.
thinking he was gonna chuck him from the top into the ring.
Yeah, well, there was that moment too where it was just so subtle, but where Matanza Cueto just part of his leg went off the edge of the office, the top of the office, and you could see everyone's reaction except the one asshole who was laughing, who seemed to work there. I don't know if you guys saw that, but I'm like, whoever that person is, they're probably gonna get fired.
I'm going to have to go back and rewatch
I
it.
felt like channeling my inner Jim
I
Cornette.
was just gonna say it's all
and
Jim
Santino Marella in someone.
Is
Bring
there-
him to me.
is their version of Paul London.
But
Oh,
there was drama everywhere in the build, but it was that little thing, these two monsters are struggling. It's Godzilla and King Kong on top of the World Trade
Right.
Center, and just the one little foot slip, that one little tease, it's like,
Everyone's breath
You know?
catches, yeah.
amazing,
Oh,
man.
I mean, they
Man.
kept that frame on Dario for forever.
Oh, that face! Just, oh my god, every little bit of like micro expression from Dario Cueto is just magical at this point. Just those gigantic eyes. And we'll get more into him chewing up the scenery later. But let's get into this finish.
Right.
Let's get into this friggin'. It's going back and forth. We're not sure who's going to go off of what or through what. Eventually, Mill hooks Matanza, gives him the flatliner through the roof of Dario Cueto's office.
Straight to hell.
Right, straight to hell.
Through the office. What?
Right, that's it, and then gone.
And
You know what I
then
mean?
and then music hits because they're dead.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
If the ref knows one thing, he knows they cannot continue.
Exactly, yeah. We've seen the inside of that office before. There's a lot of hard corners in that office.
No one took the monitors off Dario's desk prior to those guys falling through. Everything
the
was
Red
left.
Bull.
Funny.
The fountain pens,
Yeah.
all the artifacts,
I'm
everything.
kind of a big deal nameplate.
Oh my god.
all
love
that
It would have
stuff.
been great if that flew out the roof. When
So
they
good.
went down, it just popped out with the bull. The bull all
kind of a
flies up. He
big
just
deal.
catches it. He's
Oh,
like,
it's so good. But
There-
what a moment this was.
I did not
Amazing.
expect that to happen at all.
So many huge moments in Lucha Underground revolve around this office.
Yeah.
Either
Yeah.
jumping off of it, going through it, going through the window.
That's definitely going to be an accessory in the playset.
Oh,
For sure.
man.
That's absolutely. Make it happen,
with
guys.
a breakable window.
Cage in a Cage shirts, Dario Cueto playset, get it poppin'.
I think the Cage in a Cage shirts will happen in the next 10 days.
I
or
think
They
whatever.
better.
The
Fingers
play set
crossed.
with the having to send stuff to China to be manufactured, that takes longer.
Sure. But not only that, so after this, we get this amazing moment between Dario Cueto and Catrina where he's holding up the key and he's yelling, Guerra! Guerra! And just in case anyone didn't know, he then says in English, War! Like, I love the idea of this, like, raging war just intensifying from where it already was between Catrina and Mill and Dario and Matanza.
It was nuts.
And they're both equally dangerous, you know what I mean? They're equally
Exactly.
armed. They're two geniuses with two monsters behind them, you know what I mean?
I feel like it's interesting. What I thought of is that Matanza versus Mil Muertes is like two different kinds of horror villains. It's like Mil Muertes is the supernatural villain that can like invade your dreams or come after you from behind the grave.
The Freddy Krueger.
Matanza, exactly.
He's the Michael Myers.
He's the Freddy. Matanza is more just the Jason that will he'll just throw
Never stop coming.
He'll zip you up in a sleeping bag and just chuck you against a tree for a while.
Sure.
And
dangle
just
you over the fire.
exactly.
Dude, the multiple gut wrenches had me just at the edge of my seat. Ridiculous.
Not only the rolling gut wrenches, but the fact that Mil Muertes landed on his feet out of the last one. What? Like,
also, real quick
Yes,
in
sir.
chat, we have a correction.
yes.
It was Siniestro de la Muerte,
Thank
not
you.
Barrio Negro.
Thank you. Man, so crazy.
There are other crazy spots in this match when because it took a while for Mill to knock him down. He finally like knocks
Sure.
him down with a clothesline.
Yeah.
And Mill hits this awesome power slam and gets on top and he starts throwing him blows. And you see just Matanza just choke him from the bottom.
Right.
And get up and it's like, you never see someone like from the bottom just grab someone by the throat and get up. And I was just like, oh man. And then when they were fighting outside and like working their way to get to the top of the office, they picked up like a gas can.
Oh, that's
or
right.
like a mini
Or
tank.
a water can,
And
as
they
I
were
believe it was
just
called on commentary.
thudding each other. Like every time they hit, it was just like thud.
Yeah.
Thud. I was just like, oh, is that Foley? Or
I don't know. We've talked about the Foley
You
on the
never
show
know,
before.
right.
Is that the Foley?
So
man.
basically our championship main event ends in a no contest, but of course, as Lucha Underground loves to do, we've got a little bit more after the credits.
This is
I
great.
love when they do post credit scenes.
This is great.
We get Councilman Delgado visiting Captain Vasquez, and we get more of this kind of this Dario Cueto crew whole storyline. What a great little touch.
Was that the Renegade?
The Renegade.
Was that him?
No, the Renegade died.
No, not the wrestler, the Renegade. The guy from the USA TV show. The
Oh my
Renegade.
God, that
wasn't
Renegade?
that him?
I don't know.
I'll look
I
it
could
up.
have sworn that was
Lorenzo
him.
Lamas?
Yeah, I could have sworn that
I
was him.
hope
Dude.
so. But no,
I
so
think if Lorenzo Lamas was on it, it would have generated headlines.
exactly.
I was like looking at that guy. I was like, is that the Renegade?
But there's one little touch in the scene that I loved before we get into the
Was it
ramifications
the
of it.
missing, the
All
missing
of-
wrestlers?
All of the posters. We've got
Yes.
Bale is deceased. We've got Alberto Del Patron. We've got
Big
we've
Rick.
got Big Rick. We've got Blue Demon. We've got Davari. All of them are missing.
Yeah,
Like I love
I
that it
love
all
that.
ties together.
I wrote that
Well,
one down.
actually, did you know about Big Rick's fate? Because that was
No.
described in one of the comics. His skull was used for Mil Muertes' throne. He's dead.
Wow.
Big Rick is dead, guys.
They should have left the eye patch on it then.
that
And
was
a
that would've
great.
been-
cigar. And a
that would've
cigar.
Yeah, and the
Exactly.
cigar.
Yeah, no,
Full cigar.
the disciples killed Big Rick and used his skull to make Mil Muertes' friggin' Shao Kahn
It
throne.
wasn't enough to take his eye.
Right?
No.
The whole thing. Got to get the whole thing.
Take his
Jimbo.
whole head.
Yeah.
Jimbo, I got some good news.
Was it?
That was Lorenzo Lamas.
What?
Everybody in chat saying, dude, totally Lorenzo Lamas.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So David
Why?
Arquette tries to work a Lucha Underground, doesn't, makes headlines everywhere.
He doesn't-
Lorenzo fucking Lamas is on Lucha Underground. I didn't see one mention of it
No
anywhere. That's
idea.
a Jimbo Slice World
I had
exclusive.
no idea. Jimbo broke the news, y'all.
Yeah. Because
but
I'm looking at that guy and I was like, is that the Renegade?
I love that is it the Renegade?
Alexis P in chat. I hope Danny Trejo is the guy who is more powerful than the mayor.
Oh man, right?
Machete.
So yeah, basically, yeah. To get there, we see Councilman Delgado tells Captain Vasquez to back off, drop the case against Dario Cueto, because he's heeding his employer basically. And Captain Vasquez kind of laughs it off and says, "You think I care about what the mayor thinks?" And he says, "Oh no, not the mayor. Someone much more powerful." So with that said, let's get into some quick ass predictions,
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
right?
Yeah.
So who do we think is this more powerful figure?
Dude, that'd be awesome if it's Danny Trejo.
I don't even know at this point.
That'd be insane.
We've already got a half god as the champion.
Yeah.
Who the hell else is going to be more powerful?
I mean,
Maybe-
kids straight up Quetzalcoatl.
It's just Quetzalcoatl.
But it could only be more powerful in a civic sense or something.
More
too, right?
powerful
So-
than the mayor.
You know, is the governor down with Lucha Underground?
Just the Lucha Underground has their own president in kayfabe.
What if it was Arnold Schwarzenegger as the governor of California?
The
I'm
Governor.
down. I'm so down.
And
I'm
then-
1,000% down.
And then we could have Machine versus Governor.
Whoa. Or have Governor in the Machine's corner, just like Ric Flair in Charlotte's corner.
Nice.
Oh, that's amazing.
They were
Yeah, this is my
manufactured at-
son.
They were manufactured at the same plant.
Yeah, he's the T2000.
Yeah, I don't even know. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say the original Dragon Azteca is gonna be brought back from the dead in like Blackest Night form, and that's my off the wall prediction because I can't think of anything else.
That's crazy.
Jimbo, what do you think?
MVP.
MVP? Oh, we talked about this before.
That it was just like, oh yeah, I'm fired, guys. I should have kept my mouth shut.
That's a
And
good
then
call.
He just shows up and everyone's like, what?
I like Jimbo Slice's outside the box thinking a lot. I also like MVP a lot, so I'm gonna back that same horse.
There you go. There you
MVP
go.
all day.
I'm super down with that.
Because as great as Lucha Underground is, if there's one thing that can make Lucha Underground a tiny bit better, it's a little sprinkling of that MVP.
There you go. There you go. That helps everything, guys. We need some more inflatable entranceways in the temple, is what I'm saying, really.
Yes. It's what think of the merchandising.
Right?
Famous B and MVP together.
Absolutely.
That would
We
be
didn't
so
get any
great.
Famous B in this episode.
I was waiting for like, because at the end when the music cued, I was like,
That's
is this
what I
gonna be
thought.
like a Famous B video?
I thought either Famous B or Joey Ryan.
Yeah, something.
With the funky 70s music.
Before we get out of here, I want to ask
Yes.
more backyard
Oh,
wrestling
yes, absolutely.
questions. So, I noticed in that game, you guys had to change the names of the moves.
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah. Was that like just to cover your own ass kind of thing?
Yeah, there were some people on the corporate side. There was a lot of changing of the guard at IDOS Interactive, and the company got acquired, and all kinds of different things happened. In layman's terms, like some really shook people started to get involved in the projects, and they were so shook that you can't call it a power bomb, and it's like, really? All right, if this is what you want to spend
That
your
may
time
or
on,
may not be trademarked. That's funny.
the same people came to me when we were going to press and were like, what's with all these names in the thanks list? And it's like, they're people who, you know, contributed, helped, did a favor, whatever. Similar to any of the other like 82 games I've thanked people on.
Right.
Well, do you have a signed contract from each of them waiving their right to privacy and allowing you to include their name in here? And I'm like, absolutely not. nor am I producing such a, that's like fucking outrageous.
Right.
I can thank anybody that I want.
Exactly.
So it's things like that. Also in the backyard wrestling game, the same people changed my name from Kevin Gill to Kelvin Finn. Even though it's me, it's my image, it's my likeness, it's my voice. I didn't sign a release for any of it.
Right.
But I'm fine with it. You know what I'm saying? So then why change my fucking goddamn name? It's my image and likeness and voice. By slightly changing my name,
That's crazy.
Amazing.
yeah, but that's why. You know what I mean? Another funny fact about, I think it was in Backyard Wrestling 2. I forget if it was 1 or 2, but Sandman and Vampiro both were not present at the final voiceover sessions. And this guy...
I saw that on IMDb today.
Wow.
I was
I
like,
did the
Kevin did
voices.
Vampiro's voice?
I did, and really, because Vampiro wasn't much of a promo person back
Right,
then, so
right.
there wasn't a ton to imitate. But I really just focused on imitating Vampiro the way he sounds on skits on Insane Clown Posse records. 'Cause
I
he's
see.
on a bunch of skits, and it gave me kind of his cadence and diction in like a very clean format.
That's really
And Sandman's like, yeah, you know what I mean?
I just picture him on like Insane Clown Posse Theater when they just like tossed him in between segments and he just like talked shit about Greg Hammer Valentine.
hilarious.
Another quick question. So who are some wrestlers that were in the backyard wrestling games that you think would be great in Lucha Underground? Like for me, I thought like, well, Josh Prohibition.
Sure.
I would love to see if like the whole cop thing with Joey Ryan doesn't
Sure.
work out, and they're like, we're going old school. We're gonna bring back an old school cop, and he's like Untouchables style, like
man.
Josh Prohibition, whereas like the Dick
from the
Tracy
That could work.
hat, and he
That
thinks
would
he's
work.
like an old school cop, like we're gonna take down this temple and this mill masters, you know, like that would be great. And Nick Mondo.
Oh
Nick Mondo
sure.
would be so sick,
Nick Mondo.
especially after watching his trailer for the trade.
And you got to
seeing,
hear the sick
his-
Nick Mondo interview on KevinGillShow.com.
Oh, definitely. And seeing like him interact with himself as like different parallels, I was like, man, imagine him in Lucha Underground as like a schizophrenic that like works as part of the temple.
Right,
like
right,
he
right.
works at the temple, but in his mind, he's sick Nick
He could be
Mondo,
one of the
dude.
production people. He could be the camera guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like-
Cinematography, whatever. Because
Sure.
that's what he does for real. But it's both sides of himself coming out. The thing about backyard wrestling, I feel like it had a real. There was real talent in those games. You know, it's Sanjay
Absolutely.
Dutt, it's Ruckus, Vampiro, and as long as I forget some of the names, there's so many. But sometimes the ones that get to me are the ones that got away. Like it was like so down to the wire, and he had agreed verbally to do it. But CM Punk was supposed to be in
Really?
Backyard Wrestling 2, which to me would have just been like a game changer.
Oh, sure.
Just for just what it would mean, like just to have that footnote and look what a career that guy had in wrestling because he's that damn good. You know what I mean? But those are the only regrets I have with Backyard Wrestling was that we didn't get the CM Punk thing in. and Joey Styles called me up really late in the process and is like, hey, like, what's up? You know what I mean? Like, I'm Joey Styles. You know what I mean? And I'm like, fuck, like, our game doesn't have the capability of like the commentary, and
right.
all it would have been was just like, you know,
Oh my god!
Right,
Like
right.
when someone breaks a table
what
or
could have
something.
been.
Oh,
it was
man.
just too late. But I'm like, oh man, Joey mother effing Styles.
In an alternate universe, there's
Right.
Backyard Wrestling 2 starring CM Punk with Joey Styles on commentary.
Yes, well, who knows?
What
Now
might have been.
CM Punk doesn't have a WWE contract anymore, so maybe I'll get him to come in on the Kevin Gill show. We could talk old Backyard
You
Wrestling
know?
memories.
You never know.
He does
And,
think you're the
oh,
human embodiment
of unity.
Of unity.
You know who else was supposed to be in the Backyard Wrestling games that didn't pan out? But this one went further because his character model was made. Jeff Hardy.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, I spoke to Jeff Hardy on the phone for hours and hours and hours. I mean, and hours and hours and hours and hours.
Right.
And everything was cool. It was cool. It was cool. And then he was just gone. He was a will of the wisp.
Wow.
And
But
just
think
like
of
that, guys.
I even have at home the original voiceover stuff for the cutscenes. It's the animatic voices. It's just me doing all the voices just for a rough animation. And I do he had a skit with the Vivid Video Girls that I forget who we replaced them with. Supreme. It's like Supreme. Someone told
I
me.
love Supreme.
But obviously not Jeff Hardy like.
So
you know
good.
What I mean?
That's so
But
good.
It came up on shuffle on my iTunes like yesterday at home, and I'm just listening to me imitate Jeff Hardy in 2004. It was quite a laugh.
Unexpected gems like that. Well, guys, we could talk about Backyard Wrestling all night long, but sadly we are very much out of time.
That just means
guys,
he's got to come back.
Yeah.
Exactly. We'll do a spotlight on. We'll talk about
please.
video games and wrestling and voiceover, and it'll be fantastic. But for now, put yourself over. What's that you got in your hand?
Every week, man, KevinGillShow.com is the place to pick up in-person, in-depth, 60-minute plus interviews with, the illest names in wrestling. Finn Balor, Doc Gallows, Mick Foley, Jerry the King Lawler. Oh, Brian, but where am I? I'm on the Lucha Underground show.
There you go.
So I'm talking Brian Cage, M-Dog Matt Cross, Willie Mack, Joey Ryan, Vampiro, Matt Stryker. I'm someone who attends the temple myself. I do commentary for Juggalo Championship Wrestling.
There you go.
Insane Clown Posse's company. So check me out there. And please hit up KevinGillShow.com and enjoy the insane interview flavor. No Young Bucks interview yet, but maybe someday.
But what a segue. Jimbo, what's that you've got in front of you?
This is a documentary I made about the Young Bucks. Kevin Gill was nice enough to participate in it, and he has some great insight. If you want to check it out, you can buy it at highspots.com. You can follow me on Twitter at TheJimboSlice. That's TheeJimboslice. Check out his podcast with Teddy Hart, who's someone I would love to see in the temple, and I could picture him doing dives off of Dario's office.
Oh my God.
100%.
Even before the doors
and
open.
then just standing
Yeah.
straight up.
Yeah.
Guys, as always, you can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, at Ty Matthews PMA. You can find me on the Monday Night Raw After Show and the brand new American Grit After Show on Thursdays. Remember to check out Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Saturdays, 4 p.m., KDOC locally, U2 America nationally, and on the Fight TV app for free. And if you're in the Southern California area, come out to a taping every second and fourth Sunday of the month, completely free, 3 p.m. in Port Hueneme, California, right there on the beach.
Hashtag Classic Connection.
Love the Classic Connection. Levi Shapiro, Buddy Royal, two of my favorite superstars. But until next week, guys, such a stacked card next week, so you're going to want to come right back for episode 14. But until then, viva la lucha!
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.